Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the session number three of the Case Study System Masterclass. In this session, we will be covering the market entry cases. So, in this entire session, I will be explaining the framework, and at the end, we'll be doing a sort of activity where I'll be sharing a problem statement, and you can then share your approach that how you will be approaching that problem. So without wasting any more time, I guess we can get started, or should we wait for some more people? uh, Hello. By any chance, can anyone let me know in the comment section that whether I'm audible or not? Because okay, cool. So I guess we can get started. Just this place. Next. Now, in a market entry case, what usually happens will be given a certain case that a company wants to enter into a specific market, and then you have to just find out whether the company should enter into that market or not. If yes, then how they should enter into the market and so on and so forth. Now, it's the very basic definition. Now, this is something which is very, very important. So, in market entry cases, we have basically three types of cases. The number one, that there the company has launched a new product. The product never existed. For example, the hybrid cars. So there was a time where we had like the petrol or the EVs, but then we come up with something called as a hybrid car. So it was something which was introduced. Now we can give one more example to this. So we have certain developments in the AI. So there is like human AI pen. So it uses the AI for everything. They don't have a system, but it is a wearable thing which can be used. They use sensor. They don't have a screen. So it is something which is a new product that never existed. So this is launched by Apple, but it is not very very popular. So it is one of the example. Now there can be some of the cases where we have like a new product to a given economy. Now, let's say there is a product which actually existed, and now the product is being launched in some other geographical area. For example, we can think of the Tesla. Now Tesla was something which is operating in USA, Europe, and most of the developed countries, and they thought let's enter into the Indian markets. Now it is something which will fall into this category. Then there is a similar product as exists in the economy. Now in this case, we can think of the multiple examples like in case of the FMCG brands, there are like a lot of companies. The the banana chip company. So we have like Haldiram and the multiple companies, and there is a new brand which comes up. So it is like there is a similar product which exists in the economy, and there is a new player which wants to enter into this market. So these are like three different cases. So the three different types of entering into a market. Okay. Moving forward, we have moving forward, we have the steps that we follow in order to solve the problem. Now, the very first thing that we need to understand is about the client. What is the exact objective of the client? For example, uh, we can think of um, we can think of the different companies like the Amazon. Like Amazon launched its Kindle so that they can support their book business. So this was the client objective. Similarly, in 2024, Reliance, which is actually a retail giant, they launched their own FMCG brand called Independence. In that one, a different. So what is the objective? So, I mean, what would be the objective of the company? Something which is taken into consideration, and why do they want to enter into this market right now? For example, this is something where we can think from the Tesla example. For example, Tesla wants to enter into the Indian market due to the government EV incentives and the growing demand into the Indian market. So, due to which they thought, let's enter into this Indian market. So, this is something which is taking the very first thing that you need to do is to understand the client. Now, what does the company do uh, and do right now? So, what we meant by this? So, we need to understand that what the company current setting is. So whether they are in a specific industry, for example, Mama Earth, they're into the cosmetics and the beauty product, and uh, they want they want to launch a new product in the same category. So you need to understand. So in this case, they don't have much barriers. So as a consultant, when you're solving such case, so you can think of the further solution when you solve the problem. But let's say the example that I mentioned initially of the Reliance, that Reliance is they are basically into they are a retail giant and they are entering into the FMCG. So in this, they need to there is more barrier because they have the existing big players into the market like HUL, Nestle, and so on and so forth. So the very first thing that you need to do is to understand about the client. What is the client actually they are doing, and why do they actually wanted to enter into this market? Once we are done with the first step, the second thing that we need to do is to set the objective. Now, based on the very first step, we need to understand what is the current objective of the client is. For example, they want to let's say Tesla is entering into the Indian market. Now, what is the current objective? They want to be profitable. They want to make profit. They want uh, or whether they want to have like the break even the next 7 years or the 6 years. So although I guess we have the this boot camp is mixed of all the students from all the backgrounds. So what break even point is? So break even point is the point where the cost is actually equal to the revenue, which means there is no profit and no loss. Now it is something that we need to understand about the objective of the client, whether they want to like expand into the market for the profitability purpose or for the brand management, or whether they want to enter into this market and then gain the management share in the near future. And then as the strategies part, we have like the four different components: the financial feasibility, the barriers that we need to check, the operational feasibility, and then we need to reassess the financial feasibility that we had did so far, and then we need to estimate the potential market share in this specifically. Now, what we do in the market feasibility, we try to uh, just give me a second. Huh. Hmm. Okay, so we try to figure out like whether the current potential or the whatever the market entry is, whether it is financially feasible or not. Like if we are investing in a certain business in order to expand into a certain geography or uh, a certain category, so is that something that will be making money at the end of the day? Because financial feasibility is the first thing that we need to take into consideration. Like what will be the break even point, how much revenue that we can generate, So the very first thing is to understand about the financial feasibility. Second is the checks to barrier to entry. Now I'll be discussing this in the upcoming slides. So let's say there are certain industries where there is like we need huge capital. So in this case, the barriers is on a higher side. Then we check the operation feasibility, whether the product or the service that we are launching in a particular region, whether the operation is financially feasible or not, or operationally feasible or not. And then once we find out that it is financially feasible or operation feasible or not, then we uh, if sorry my bad so in this step, if we came to a conclusion that we cannot do this, then we come to reassess this entire thing, and then we come to a conclusion and estimate the potential market share we may gain. I'll be discussing this in detail in the upcoming slide. Now in the financial feasibility part, we need to take care of three things: availability, accessibility, and affordability. What I meant by these three things, for the very first is the availability, whether the product that I have been making, whether it will be available to the target audience or not. Well, it means this is something which depends on the company's company uh, internal management and the production. Then the affordability, that whether this specific product is affordable or not to the consumer. Then we have the accessibility, that although we have the product available for the market, the product is affordable to the target audience. But is the product accessible to them or not? Because there are certain industry which is regulated by the government. So although they had a product, but the product cannot be actually accessible to the target audience. For example, let's say an Indian brand, let's say an Indian pharmaceutical company, they make cough syrup. Now the point is that the cough syrup is affordable, and they are actually exporting this product to the US markets, or let's say any other market. Now the point is that the product is affordable, the product is available, but the product is not accessible to them because in order to purchase this product, they need a doctor prescription. Now we need to take these three things into consideration when we make certain decisions, and then when we do further analysis. Additionally, apart from the financial feasibility thing, we also try to understand about the non-financial aspects, like like the example of Amazon. Like Amazon launched their Kindle so that they can support their existing product, which was the books. So in this case, the financial thing was not, to a certain extent it was relevant, but their primary objective was to help their book business. Now in this case, the very important aspect was that we need to understand about the objective, and based on the objective we need to see whether the entry into the market is feasible or not. Then we check for the different barriers. Okay, so there is one more thing, the strategy that I'm talking about. So the very first thing that you should do when you solve certain cases, now I have just like explained this in very brief. Now I just wanted to give you how do you actually implement this and solve cases. For example, the let's say the investment that is required is 10 CR for a specific uh, expansion. So the very first thing that you need to do is you need to estimate what will be the benefit that you will be generating. Let's say if you're investing 10 CR to expand to the market, if everything is aligned, every single thing is aligned, there are like everything is going as per the plan, there are no competitors, everything is uh, aligned as per your expansion plan, then what could be the cash flow that you will be generating? Let's say if you're investing like 10 CR, then let's say you're able to make 15 CR. Now it is a best case scenario that if everything is aligned, then you will be able to make this much. Now after that, you need to check for the barriers to the entry. Now in this step, you need to understand what were the different barriers, and then you deduct accordingly. That 15 was too much, then based on the barriers I'll be deducting this. Let's say we have the raw material, we have the production, then we have the distribution, and then we have the consumer. Now what happened that we have the raw material, we have the production, and we have the distribution, and we have the customer. Now let's say we have the raw material of 80,000, and the production out of the 80,000, we had like 60,000 production and 40,000 as distribution. But out of that 40,000, only 30,000 has been consumed by the customer. One of the reasons could be that these individuals, sorry, they are loyal to a specific brand, so they are not preferring our brand. Now you need to check about the barriers to entries accordingly, and we need to deduct that. Once we are done with that, we check for the operational feasibility, whether whatsoever uh, uh, the things that I've mentioned, like the raw material, the production, uh, then the distribution, and then the customer. We need to check whether these are financially operationally feasible or not. For example, we can think of something called, let's say we have like 80,000 raw material, and 72,000 goes to the production. Out of 72,000, we have like 60,000, and then we have like the 10,000. Now the problem lies, let's say the problem lies with the operational feasibility, and the operational feasibility as in the distribution, for let's say, and the market in which that you're entering. So the entire distribution channel, or let's say the value chain, is controlled by a very big competitor of yours. Now in this case, since the distribution channel has been disturbed, your consumer would not get the product as per your needs. And there could be multiple barriers as well. I'm talking about the one as in the operational feasibility of the product. Now, once we did this, we reassess the entire thing. We again check, let's say, as we have mentioned, that 10 CR was our investment, and after all this analysis, we came to a conclusion that we'll be able to make only 8 CR. Now, what in this case, what we will be doing, we will be reassessing this entire analysis. After doing this entire financial feasibility analysis, we will be moving to the next part, which is how can the client win the market still. I mean, from this point till this point, we came to the conclusion that the company should not enter into the market. But still, the company, if let's say if this company wants to enter in this market, then what could be the possible things? The very first thing could be they can start manufacturing, producing from scratch. There can be multiple cases. They can acquire an existing product, and then they can start a joint venture or strategic alliance. To this instance, we were like, the financially it is not feasible. But later we figure out, after acquiring one of the companies, our distribution channel will be improved. Now, based upon that, our since our distribution cost got reduced, it to our 8 CR, which was the cash flow, it got increased due to this specific acquisition of an existing producer or its existing player. Our decision changed because to a certain extent, we were thinking that we will be able to make only 8 CR, but after acquisition of this specific producer, we were able to generate higher revenue and the cash flows. Now there is this. I am not sure how many of you had like participated or you were able to participate in a case competition. So there was a case competition organized by Brain Horse. So their market entry case was revolving around this only, that there is an automobile company and they want to enter into the market. And in this case, we were supposed to think of the best places to establish their operation, their facility. Now, after all those sort of analysis, we came to the conclusion. So we were given three, as far as I remember: Pune, Gurugram, and Chennai. After all sort of analysis, we came to the conclusion that Chennai is the best fit. But after, in this case only, we were given that this specific company is acquiring a company which will enhance their um, uh, which will enhance their which will enhance their operations and reduce the cost. And it was different in all these three cities. Since due to the acquisition of this company, the decision was changed, and later we figure out that Gurgaon is the best fit because of this acquisition. So it is not just the thing that we did all sort of financial feasibility and the operation feasibility test, and we come to the conclusion that we should not enter into this market because there are multiple things as well. There is so they can actually enter into a joint venture, and then they can eventually do well in this specific industry or the market. For one of the example of the strategic alliance would be the Tata and Starbucks. Now in India, the Starbucks business is managed by Tata as a part of the strategic alliance. Now this is one of the mode of entry which has been used by Starbucks. Now so there can be this situation like till it was for not feasible, but due to Tata, this is because of this strategy alliance, it is like possible for the market entrance. Moving forward, uh, we need to in the market entry, we need to do two more things, which is the market share and the market size of the industry in which the company wants to enter in. For example, the very first thing that you need to do is to take a look at the greatest player in the market in which the company wants to enter. Let's say if if the company wants to enter into a market which is fragmented or the monopolist. Now, in these cases, we can generate some of the insights by asking these questions and understanding about the industry as specific and the market share. Now, the very first, what I meant by the fragmented, what I meant by the fragmented market share. Now, let's say there is an industry in which there are many players and 20 players hold 5% each. Then it is like the fragmented market. And let's say there is like monopolist market where there are like very less players and they owns the majority of the market share. Now from this, we need to make certain decision whether the company should enter into this market or not. So what is the strategy that we'll be implementing? The strategy would be, we'll look at the, in this case, monopolist's case, we'll take a look at the recent two biggest entrants into this market, and based on their entry, we will discuss how do these two new entrant gain the market share, and we'll try to understand in 2 to 3 years or 1 to 2 years how much market share was gained by this specific company. And then we can think of the other things like if our product is superior than the existing product or the in last market entrant, then we can assume that we can also gain the similar market share. Now, let's say the recent market entrants, let's say 1 to 2 entrant gained, they gained 20% market, let's say 10% market share. Now, based upon this, we can think that if we enter into this market, so we can make a certain, uh, we can gain the certain market share as well. Then we need to take a look at the growth of the market and the competitive advantage. Now, there can be two cases. We need to take a look at the growth rate of the market in which the company wants to enter. Let's say the market of the country, market of the specific industry is very minimal. Now, in this case, what will happen? And the growth is, let's say 1% or 2%, and let's say the industry is not growing. Now, what will happen in this case? In this entire market, the existing competitors will be fighting for the market share. But let's say we have a growing market, 20%, 30%. Now we have, now in this case, we have the existing market of, let's say, 10 CR, and let's say the industry is growing at 100%. Now in the next year, we have like we have the 20 CR market. Now in this, the competitors will not be fighting for the existing market share, but the market has expanded a lot. Now there is better scope for the market entry for the company. Then we take a look at the product. I mean the product differentiation. Now let's say we have taken now let's say in this case, the monopolist case, that where we discussed that if the last two entrant gained 20% or let's say 10% market share, so we try to benchmark our product with the existing competitor, and we try to figure out if we are entering into this market, if our product is superior and if they have gained 10% market share, then we can gain even more than that. So it is the case. Then value chain. Now, what value chain, as I explained in this previous slide as well. Let's say the value chain. Value chain is like the different. There is value chain analysis. So I'll be discussing this in detail in the profitability cases, which will be happening tomorrow. So in this value chain thing, we, let's say the entire supply chain or the is controlled by some of the competitors. Let's say they have the dominance. So now we need to understand about the current value chain, and then we need to make certain decisions accordingly. Now let's say we have like we can take assumption in this case. 5% is considered as a realistic number, but you can confirm that with an interview when you're solving the cases. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Moving ahead with the market sizing. So I guess it is something that I've explained in my previous session as well. But okay, I'll be explaining this again and again. So I explained this availability, affordability, and accessibility in this slide only. So I'll be not explaining this again. Now there could be the type of consumer thing when we try to estimate the market size. So when we are working on the market size, market entry cases, one of the guesstimates that we do is we try to understand about the current market size, or what would be the possible growth in this market. And in this guesstimate, what we'll be doing. So I get explained this with a refrigerator example. Let's say there we have to estimate the number of, let's say a company wants to enter into the refrigerator market, and there could be two cases, that there are currently 1 lakh refrigerators, and the lifetime of the life of that specific refrigerator is 10 year, which means that out of 1 lakh, 10,000 will be replaced this year. Now in this case, we try to understand about whether we have like a new product or not. So In this case, when we try to calculate the market share, market size, we will try to take the new refrigerators and the replaceable as well into consideration. I'm talking of, okay, I explained this point actually. Okay, and then we have the using the competitor product and uh, the new product. Now, in this case, what uh, we usually do, we try to find out the market size in terms of the volume. So, what's a calculation that we do? We need to find out what would be the volume would be. Then moving ahead, so we have something called the preliminary questions that you can ask to an interviewer. So the essential question would be the why right now they want to expand into this operation. So as I explained this with an Tesla example, then what does the company do? So I again explained this with the Reliance example. Then you can ask about the secondary question, which could be very very specific. Why, let's say a company wants to enter, let's say that Tesla wants to enter into the India, then why do they specifically want to enter into this specific area? Then we can hear about, we can ask something called as a product related question, like what does a product offer, is it a new product or an existing product, and so on, so that we can understand. So I guess I explained this in the previous slides as well. So it is just the extension of that only. So the list is not exhaustive, but you can these are some of the questions which is being widely asked in the interview that you can ask to an interviewer to get some of the insights. Okay, and one more thing is that you can ask about the disadvantages of the product. Now, it is not widely used, widely asked, but you can take time and then you can ask about this as well, where you will be trying to understand about the. We know about the product differentiation, why the product is great, but we also need to understand about the disadvantages of this new product. For example, there's a cough syrup. So there's a it is a 2024 news if I'm not wrong. So it's a cough syrup Indian cough syrup company which enter into the African markets. And this African market, there the cough syrup was all right for the Indian markets, but for the African markets, it has some of the content which was not good for the health of the individuals, and eventually many babies and the kids died due to the side effects of this medicine. Now, when you are as a consultant or when you are in a case interview, you need to understand about the side effect or the disadvantages of a specific product so that you can make some more uniform decisions. Moving forward to the possible barriers, which I said that I'm discussing. Now, the possible barriers in the market entry would be the economies of scale. Now, what economies of scale meant by so let's say if you're producing 10 goods, so you'll incur a certain cost. But if you're producing the same product, but the quantity would be like 10,000 or 1 CR, then in that case your overall cost will reduce. So when you produce more products at the very products, then your cost get reduced. Now, in this case, one of the examples could be, uh, let's say a company wants to enter into the uh, logistics business, specifically, let's say logistics business. Now, we have the competitors like Safe Express. We have delivery in the space. Now, what in this case, what happens? They have the economies of scale. Safe Express has economies of scale. Now, Safe Express, when they are delivering to a specific region, now they have multiple orders in that specific region. So the overall all cost that they will incur will be very less than a new entrant who will have like the comparatively less client or the network in that specific region. So economies of scale could be one of the thing. The next is the capital requirement. Now let's say there is a business in which the client want to enter requires huge capital, huge capital, due to which they won't be able to enter into that market. Then we have the government policies. So now let's say there's certain industries where government policies are very strict and the entry is very very difficult. For example, the financial sector businesses, so it is very difficult for them. Okay, one more thing that I forgot to explain is the switching cost. Now let's say in this case, one of the examples could be we can think of from the consumer point of view in this case. Now let's say uh, there is an insurance company. Now insurance company, they let's say there are consumers with 20-year contract with the insurance company. Now let's say there is a company A and there is in company B. Both provide insurance services. Now although the insurance A company is better than insurance B, and insurance B companies have contracts with the existing consumers. Even consumer know that B is not as good as A, but still C won't be switching to A because the cost of switching for this consumer will be higher because he need to cancel his contract with this B, and then he need to pay some sort of penalty, then he can renew his contract with A. Now in this case scenario, so this is the switching cost in simple terms. Moving forward to the moving forward to the intangible brand and the loyalty uh, towards the competitors. Now, I guess in the premium segment, I would say the uh, some of the brands consumer are very loyal to a specific product. Now, in this case scenario, they won't be switching to other because of their loyalty. So even though a new entrant enter into the market, still the due to the competition, they won't be able to gain much market share. So one of the example that may came to my mind is the Nestle Maggie. Although Nestle Maggie gains the market majority of the market share, and it is very difficult for any other brand to enter into the space because of the loyalty of the consumer towards Nestle. Then we have that product differentiation. Now let's say there could be one more differentiation. Okay, I can explain this with the example of Paytm. Now let's say Paytm have multiple things on their platform. They have the train booking services. We can book a flight. Then we can also get a movie ticket. We can do this. We can use this for payments as well. Now, in this case, what happens that the Paytm is a super app. It means that the multiple things are available on one specific application. Now, when a competitor wants to enter into the market, it is one of the biggest threat because consumer have like majority of the things on the one specific thing, and it will be very difficult for a new entrant to differentiate its product for from an existing market player and then enter into this market. So it is one of the uh, barriers which is taken into consideration. Then we have the patents. Now, in some of the in case of the patents, so in specifically in the pharmaceutical and the tech space, uh, some new company cannot enter into the space because of the legal protections that they get due to the patents that due to the patents. I So that's it for this session. So okay, so that's it for the session. Thank you for joining me today again. Uh, for this time, we will not be having a quiz. Instead, we will be having one submission round where I'll be giving you a case on the WhatsApp group itself, and then you can work around the case and think about the solution. You can think about the framework that you'll be uh, going with, and then share it using a Google form that we'll be sharing in the group itself. PPT भेज देना बस. Okay, actually the thing is that there are multiple. Just give me a second. Okay, the thing is that there are multiple things that I have explained in this presentations, and I had explained this with uh, something. So when I share this presentation with you, without context, you won't get much idea how. So I'll be compiling all the resources, all these presentations, along with the points that I had mentioned, and then I'll share it with you. Great. These exercises are what we need. Okay. So I'll be sharing that in the group only, and a you'll get 12 hours to work on the case. It is going to be again a market entry case. What is the deadline for it? It will be 12 p.m. 9. So thank you for joining. In case you have any doubts, you can ask me. I may help you out. I can take your doubts. In case you have any doubt, you can just drop in the chat box. I definitely take that up. Give a day's time. Uh, okay, please make it 12 a.m. I'm giving you 12 hours to work around the case. You can submit it by tomorrow 12 p.m. Additionally, it is not going to be a really great big case problem. The case problem will be, will you explain tomorrow's doubts now? Okay, I don't have the presentation right with me. Okay, I can make a video of the doubts that you guys have mentioned, and then I'll share that in the group, and then you can watch that video. I guess I had few doubts from the top down and the bottom down approaches. So, okay, I can explain that as well. So, in the top down approach, what do you do? Okay, just give me a second. Uh, I don't have the presentation right now. So what we do in a top-down approach, we take the population into consideration, and then we filter out, narrow down the number, and then we reach to a specific number. And in the bottom-down approach, what we do, we think from the supply end, and from a smaller number, we get to the bigger picture. So this is the case. I can explain this. So what we will be doing on Sunday, we'll be having a session with a consultant from one of the firms, and then there we will be summarizing and explaining everything with a real case discussed in the session itself. So I guess you can learn from there. Any other doubt or anything that you want to ask? Next 12, I mean, it won't be, I guess it won't be feasible for everyone. Can you give 24 hours time? You need to prepare only one page document. You don't need to make a presentation. Additionally, we will be attaching something. You can also give a 1 minute pitch that how do you come to the solution, and uh, how do you actually pitch the solution that you have. Could you please give us 24 hours about the case submission? Okay, the case submission question will be shared on the group only, and it is going to be the market entry case only. Any other doubt from from today's session? I can take that up. Mm. Okay, so I guess I don't see any doubts in the comment section in the chat box. So again, thank you for joining us today, and we'll be sharing the necessary resources and the case problem and the submission links in the group itself. Thank you once again for joining.